everybody. This is Amy Rich with amyrich.net. Welcome to another of my 12 projects of Christmas 2024. This, I believe, is number 6. So this will mark the halfway point, and we are going back to the Season of Green and Gold Sweet Collection from the online exclusives, which was released in July of 2024. It is by far one of my favorite sweet collections of all time, and that's why you're going to see it a couple of times throughout the course of the next few weeks. This is project number 6. Project number 11 will be yet one more of the beautiful designer series paper showcased. We're going to get to that in just a minute. Let's talk quickly about the bundles here. The Golden Greenery bundle contains all of these images in the stamp set, as well as coordinating dies, which I did not bring on camera here, but coordinating dies for all of this. And it is the coolest product, and I'm going to showcase it big time today in our project. And then the Greetings of the Season bundle is part of the Season of Green and Gold Sweet Collection as well, and it comes with this amazing sentiment stamp set, which we have used before, and then the dies as well. So we're going to use this die right here, as well as the Season's Greetings. I'm not a huge Season's Greetings fan in terms of cards that I send, but I think the font is so great and it fits so well where I want to use it that I'm like, yep, I'm using Season's Greetings on this one. And then I've got a piece of basic white cardstock, and you can see here I've penciled on 7 3/4 by 10 1/4 inches. And I am going to do what I call stamping down the middle. Yes, a very technical term, but it very much describes what we're going to do here on this project. So I'm going to bring in a piece of scratch paper. We are going to be doing a lot of stamping off, so I decided it was best if we have the scratch paper handy. I'm going to grab just about all of the stamps in the Golden Greenery stamp set. And we're going to use 3 different green colors, and that would be the Garden Green, Old Olive, and Shaded Spruce. And I'm going to start with the Garden Green. Make that Old Olive. It's okay if I change my mind, right? And we're going to start with, or I'm going to start with the bolder image, and I'm going to ink that up and then stamp it off. And I didn't get a very good image there. And I'm going to flip this around so that we've got a fresh canvas. Stamp it off, and then I'm going to, what I lovingly called, stamp down the middle. So I'm just going to go down the middle at different angles here. And then I'm also going to go down the middle on this direction. So both horizontally and vertically, we're going to stamp down the middle. And I have to think a lot when I'm doing the stamping off, because sometimes I'll just want to go boop like I usually do, right? But I really got to think through the fact that I want it stamped off. Okay, so I'll finish this up, and then we'll go to the next color, and actually not the next color, but the next image. Okay, so you've seen now how I've done a little stamping down the middle. Oop, I'm going to do one more right there. And I was thinking, I should probably put the ink pad on my right side since I'm right-handed. All right, now we're going to flip it over, and I mounted both of these on the same block. But I'm going to go now and fill in, without stamping off, now we're going to fill in the detail image. So we're going to do that to all of the images here that I've stamped. Now do you see why this is one of my most favorite sweet collections ever? First of all, look at the detail in that second image. You also notice that I might have missed a couple of times, and that's okay. That's not a big deal. Once we get more stamped on there, it's going to just all kind of fill in. So now we're going to go to Garden Green and the other leafy foliage here, and we're going to do the same thing. So we're going to start filling in some of our spaces with Garden Green. All right, what do you think? It's looking pretty good. Now we'll go in with the detail and fill that in as well. All right, see how we're stamping down the middle. We're leaving those white corners. And now we're going to finish the greenery with shaded spruce ink and the pine branches. All right, so again, we're going to stamp off the larger image. We're just going to do a few just to fill in. Notice how we're stamping over the top, but we're getting that different color in there and a little bit more imagery. So now we'll go back in with the detail, and this is what really makes the difference. I love using the detail stamp because it really just makes the rest of the image pop. Sometimes you can do different colors with your second image. You know, do the first color a little bit lighter color, and then go in with a darker color. But for our purposes, the stamping off works really well. So stamp off for the first image and then come back in with the detail for the second image. All right, I think it looks pretty darn amazing. And then we're gonna fill in, I keep saying fill in, well, that's exactly what we're doing, with the real red. And we'll grab some of the berries. So now we're just going to look for little open pockets here where we can fill in, and it's okay to put them close to each other. It's wherever there's a little open space that we can add some extra color. And I'm trying to turn my stamp so it's not all the same direction all the time, but honestly, it probably won't be noticed. So don't worry too much about that part. You could also, like, sometimes I turn the paper because then it just does the turn automatically for me then. Oh, I'm leaving a little bit of a red splotch there, so I got to be careful. Maybe a smaller block would have served me a little bit better. But you see how I'm supposed to be stamping off of those and I didn't, so that's okay. We'll go with it. And if you want to try to add the detail, that's fine. Although now that I haven't stamped that off, maybe it won't work so well. We'll give it a try and see. But you can stamp those berries off as well and then come back with the detail. See, it's not going to really make that much of a difference. So I don't know. I guess I'll skip that part. But you could definitely add the detail if you remember to stamp off your berries there. Super cute. All right, so remember how our paper was 7 3/4 by 10 1/4? Now we are going to cut that down so that we can use that as layers on 4 different cards. So stamping down the middle will produce 4 different cards, and cutting it down to this size will allow for some layering, and I'm going to show you that in a little bit. So the first thing we're going to do is turn it so that the long side is against the top of my paper trimmer, and we're going to go to 5 1/8. So when I did 10 1/4 inches. That is double 5 1/8, so that when we cut it in half, they would both be the same. Likewise, now that we turn it the other way, we're going to do at 3 7/8. So 3 7/8 times 2 is that 7 3/4 that we got the other direction. So now take a look at how amazing those pieces are. So I'm just going to show you one of the layouts, and the layout for each can be dependent on how your imagery ended up. And I'll show you what I mean in just a little bit. But we're going to take a piece of old olive that is 5 1/2 by 8 1/2. And then, of course, we've scored it in half at 4 1/4. And then we're going to also bring in a 4 by 5 1/4 piece of shaded spruce, and we are going to adhere these layers together. So you can see now where that layering, that odd size basic white that we started with comes into play. Now the other thing I want to add, just for a little pop of gold, I have to admit, I had to bring that paper back in. We're going to just cut a piece that is 1 inch by 5 1/2 inches. So it'll be the same height as the paper. Oh, and one thing I forgot about my card base is that I am going to cut off 3/4 of an inch here. Okay, so that when we close this, I forgot to cut. Oh, no, this is the one I cut. Hello. So when we close this now, we'll add our strip here, and when we close it, you can see that strip popping out the edge. So it's a little bit of a unique fun fold. You know, it's hard to call it a fun fold, but it is kind of, because it's different than your normal. So it's got a little short front on it, and then we're going to add this so that it peers out from behind. We'll get that placed on there. Then of course you'd probably want a piece of white on the inside that you could even stamp if you wanted to. And then when we add this layer, it's simply going to hang over the edge. So I'm going to put my adhesive in just a little bit so that it doesn't take up or it doesn't get stuck and the card sticks shut, right? So this is what it looks like on the inside. We'd add the white there, and then we're gonna do just that little bit of sentiment stamping. So let me bring in a piece of 1 3/4 inch circle basic white cardstock, and I'm going to grab my Real Red ink again and stamp Season's Greetings. And then remember I said we were going to use this die, and that is an old olive ink, and we're going to pop up the Season's Greetings on there with some Stampin' Dimensionals. So we'll just put 3 on there, and then we're going to pop that up off of our label here. And remember, that is cut from the Greetings of the Season dies, and it is sold in a bundle with this amazing sentiment stamp set, which I call a phrase builder, because you can build all kinds of different phrases with it, with all the different fonts and mix and matching. So it comes in a bundle if you want to order it that way. And then we're just going to adhere that down like this. It kind of looks like maybe it could be an ornament, but we're just going to fill in the white space there with that ornament or sentiment piece. And then finally, because I think we've talked about, if you've watched previous the 12 projects this year, I shared with you that there's a little white and there's a little vanilla, creating this really neat background on the DSP. And so I grabbed a piece of our vanilla satin ribbon that then I am going to add with a mini glue dot right here. And then this card will be complete. So you can see how once you've got the stamping done, you could do 4 quick cards where you've done all that stamping already. So let me bring in a couple of the other layouts. So here, see how the white is over on this side? So I changed up where I put the sentiment so that it wouldn't cover up all of my foliage. So depending on these pieces, you know, you could turn them different ways and fill in the space. Now you can see here a couple of the red splotches, right? So I would make sure that my sentiment piece would cover up just that little bit of the red splotch, which I think will work out just fine with these cards. So you can see that you change the placement of that based on the card. And I even had some going, some of the foliage going up, and then filling your image or sentiment in a little bit higher. So you can change where you put them, just dependent on how things fall after you cut the DSP. Or the DSP, yes, that you made for yourself. And I also just want to point out, here are what the berries look like when you do it right. So when you stamp off, like I said I was going to, and then I didn't, then you've got that great shading there. And look at the inside. See, I told you you could stamp it all fancy, and I did them the same so that it's season's greetings to you and yours, and it works out just fabulously. So that is project number 6. I hope it's helpful in some way, shape, or form. I love using foliage for stamping down the middle because it makes it flow really nicely, and with all the different foliage pieces in this particular stamp set, it just begged to be used for this technique. So I hope you've enjoyed it, learned maybe a little something new, and look through your stamps and see what kind of stamping down the middle you can do with what you've got. I hope you're enjoying these 12 projects of Christmas. Come back very soon. Make sure to subscribe so that you don't miss a single one of them or other video tutorials that I share.